Hello everyone, welcome to day 4 of Advanced Audit and Assurance Revision session. Yesterday we did two questions on the topic regulations, controls. Today we're going to study forensic audit. So without wasting any further time, let's see what is there in forensic audit, and thereafter we're going to solve a question on forensic audit. Abhi, how important is it to solve questions and why is it important? Like, is it not okay to just go through the questions without solving them? Like, itna time waste karne ki, what is the need of it? Why do you need to waste so much time? Is the question that a lot of students have, and a lot of DMs that I have been receiving lately are, why are you insisting so much on like solving the questions? Won't it waste time at this hour where the exam is near and we are studying, and why are you so insisting on solving the questions from scratch and doing it? The reason being, I would tell you that just go through the thing and just open the solution and see how it is done. But to my all my students, those who are in my class at Lakshya, know that the first time we did the kit, that is in the first week of November, I told you, yes, now this is the time that you read the question and you read the solution so that you will understand how it is solved. That is the first time that you do the kit. The second time you do the kit, you have to read the question and try solving it on your own. So that is how the stages need to be done. It's not like directly you start with doing it yourself. You need to first understand what is the expected answer for that. That is the first time. That time is gone now. Now it is the time to do the questions from scratch. Okay, that is the time now. And so to answer to the DMs who are saying that why is it necessary to solve the questions from scratch, why can't we just see it, or why are you insisting that you pause the YouTube live, you solve the question and then again play me, and that why can't we just sit and nicely relax and watch the YouTube live? The reason being, when somebody else is solving it, yeah, and when you're sitting and just relaxing, you feel that, oh, okay, this point, yes, I know, okay, this point, yes, I can write in the exam, okay, this point I'm aware of. But when you yourself start the study hub, select a question and start writing, if it's your first time, you kind of panic and you don't know what to write. And this is a tried and tested experience. Okay, so then you feel that abhi kya likhu, what to write now, how to form it in words. Sometimes everything, that this is the situation, this is my answer to that, but how to frame it, how do I write the points? For that you need a lot of writing practice, because this is a theory paper. Okay, so that, okay, this is the situation, and in this situation the auditor has to do this, but how do you frame it? How do you write it? How do you start the answer? How do you make a story and relate it to the situation? That is why whenever I'm solving a question, I'm telling you guys, see, this is the matter. This is the materiality of the matter. Now I'm relating it to the question. So that is the reason I'm telling you to solve it on your own. And if you don't practice this now, definitely in the exam you're going to get stuck there. And you're going to be like, okay, I know the situation, I know how to do this, but I don't know how to write, I don't know how to frame it, I don't know how to make a paragraph, I don't know how to write it, I don't know how to relate it to the situation. And I don't want any of my students in my live class also, and other students who are watching me also, to get stuck in this part. That is why I want the students to have this this how to do it, how to now, not in the exam. Have all those problems now. Have the problems now. They're going to help you. Today you decide that, okay, I'm going to start a question, I'm going to open the study hub, I'm going to start a question. Have that problem today. Today when you have that problem, tomorrow you will be more worried. Then again you will solve two questions. Again you will encounter a little problem, you will be more careful. You'll again solve 5 questions the next day. And with this, today it's just 16 November. Excuse me guys. Today is just 16 November. We have still half month to go. So like that, if you solve every day 5 questions, 5 questions, 5 questions, now you're a master in that. Because of the saying, practice make man perfect. So the more you practice, the more it will make you perfect. Okay. So then when you solve these questions with the fear that, last time I took a question and I became blank of how to write it. I knew the entire situation, but I couldn't put it in words. I couldn't produce it and write it, in a language. So, that fear, you will solve 4 questions, 5 questions per day, and till the time the exam reaches, then you're a master at that. So now you know that if I see a question like this, I have to start with that. If I see a situation, I have to answer it like that. If I see a section A question, it is always a reply to the email. I will start with drafting an email like that. So you will be a master at it. And then when you get the exam question, you will be like, oh, section A is always an email. You will start directly. So that time you will not be under fear that, oh, I know the situation, but I don't know how to frame it. I don't know how to, put it into words. I know a lot of information, but I don't know how to draft it and etc. That time you will not get that fear. That time you will be like, yeah, I solved the answer. Yeah, I got the answer like that. So that is the idea behind solving so many questions. Because I want you guys to get that fear. I want you guys to, have that fear of, oh, I don't know how to frame it. And with that fear, you will practice. And once you practice, you will then be better at it. Because the more you practice, the more you will be better in it. So I got a DM from a student saying that, he has not cleared the exam since the last 4 attempts and he knows all the concepts by heart. He doesn't know where he is going wrong. And literally he was like, ma'am, you ask me anything from the book, I know everything in detail. Okay, I know all the concepts. I know everything. I've given the paper 4 times. I know it by heart. Even when you tell me that don't by heart this, I know it by heart because I've done it so well. So I was also thinking, and I'm like, if the person knows everything in detail and he's so confident that ask me anything from the book and I know everything. So I said, where is it going wrong then? What is going wrong? I'm not able to understand. Like, I felt so sorry for that person. I said, I'm not able to understand then why you're failing. And then I just messaged him. I just remembered and I just messaged him. I said that, how many times have you done the exam kit? And he said, I did the half kit last time. And before that, he's never done a kit. Now you guys tell me, in the exam, what is tested? In the exam, what is tested? Exam style questions? Nobody is asking you anything from the text. Only a few here and there concepts are from the text. What is tested in the exam kit? And that is where he's going wrong. That is where he's going wrong. Previously, I couldn't understand that what is the situation. He's so confident, he knows everything by heart, but why is he failing from the last 4 attempts? See, sometimes why we are failing, that why is the answer of why is within us. I've been screaming and telling that do the kit, do the kit, do the kit, but no, nobody wants to listen. Doing the kit is very, very important. Unless and until you do the kit, doing the text, it doesn't matter at all. It just gives a little bit support to your knowledge, because this paper is application of knowledge, and how to apply knowledge is something that you will learn from the kit. So I was shocked that from the last 4 attempts you are failing, but still you have done the kit, only half of the kit you have done. And this is where the problem lies. Students are lazy to do the kit. They don't want to do the past exam questions. The past exam questions are easily available and they don't want to do it. So now whose fault is it? Is it the tutor's fault or is it the student's fault? Yes, it is definitely the student's fault, because the kit is not done. Unless and until you don't know how to make an answer, how to produce an answer in the examination, how will they give you marks? And that is why on the day 1, I told you read the examiner's articles. Solve a mock and read the examiner articles. What the examiner has to say about that, and what the examiner says, a lot of students are writing what they want to write. They should actually write what we want them to write. They are just writing what they know about that concept. If they see, for example, going concern, they're not even seeing what is asked about going concern. They just simply start with the definition and all of that. But what is asked? You read that properly. So the examiners complain about students is that students are writing what they want to write. They are not writing what is asked by us. And that is why we are not giving such students marks. And that is why you feel, I know everything but I am not passing. Why you are not passing? This is the reason you are not passing. Okay, now for the students who are failing at 48s, 49s, okay, 47, 48, 49. Now these students are a different category because 49 is fail and 50 is pass. So these students know everything, but somewhere a little bit is remaining wherein they are not able to jump that. Now what is that? So sometimes that 1 mark that you don't get and you pass is that 1 mark can be your luck factor. 1 mark, but you cannot be getting 16 and telling the tutor that I was unlucky. That is not luck. So I got a DM of a student saying that last attempt I didn't clear it, but this attempt I'm really wanting to clear and all that. And I just asked that how much did you score the last attempt, because he said he knows everything of the book and he solved the kit also. So now this situation, every situation of student is very different to understand, because you don't know them personally. They just DM you and then you have to address the issue. So he said that I have done the text, I have done the kit, I have done the kit thoroughly, I have given mocks, but I couldn't clear. So I said, how much did you score? He said a 16, and he said he was unlucky. Now guys, you have to little bit be, what I can say, I cannot even say that, but you have to be a little considerate. 16 has got nothing to do with luck. If you are failing at 48 and 49, I understand that maybe that attempt the paper was extremely difficult, so you couldn't reach the 50 benchmark and you failed for 1 mark or 2 mark. But getting a 16 in AAA and saying that my luck didn't work out, that is definitely not the answer. So now what is the answer here? Because the kit is done, the text is done, so now how do you address the issue? Doing the kit and text and doing the mock is one thing. Being truthful to yourself, understanding and doing is a different thing. Just because the tutor has told me so I'll complete the kit in 2 days, you have to understand what is there in the kit. Don't do the kit because there is no competition that if you complete the kit in 2 days I'll give you a Kit Kat. Nothing like that. We are not small kids. We need to understand what we're doing. Pick a question, read the requirement first, then read the question, then answer what is asked, then try to draft your answer. Do it on your own, and like that organically you have to complete the kit. It's not a competition wherein if you complete it within a stipulated time you get a Kit Kat. Okay, you have to organically do it, which will help you. It's not like to tell people that I did the kit or I did this or I did that. It's not to tell people, it's for your own sake. So be truthful to yourself that I have done the kit, I have done the mocks, I know how to solve it, and now I will see how how to pass. So again, different situations that come in front of us daily and we have to deal with them, but then we have to somewhere think about the answer to the situation, why the kid is failing. Because see, we are not against students, we are not like we don't want the students to pass and we want to teach them a lesson. We would be more than happy if any student clears with or without our guidance. That is the end part of it, with or without the guidance of me or anybody else, because passing is a joy. But we just want to understand the reason for a student not clearing, and the reasons are different. But I feel bad for students who don't clear, but their reasons are such that we had already told you that don't do this. If you remember on the first day when I gave my introduction, I said that doing ACCA without a class is very much possible. A lot of students do it. But the difference between doing it with a class and doing it without a class is that when you're doing it without anybody's coaching or training, you have to figure everything on your own. What to study, what not to study, how to solve the text, how to solve the kit, when to start the kit, when to start the text, how many mocks to do. All these things you need to figure out on your own. And by the time you actually become a master at it, it's too late. So I said, come to us at Lakshya. We teach you what to do, what not to do. And with that guidance, you can maybe pass it faster. Okay, so if we have been telling you that do this, do that, do this, and if you all are not listening, then that is not helping you all, right? So I feel really bad for students who fail because of these reasons, which are already told to them multiple times, that you have to do the exam kit. You have to solve the past exam questions. Without knowing the past exam questions, you cannot pass. So I asked the student that why didn't you do the kit? Like, kit solving is very important. I hope that whichever tutor took your class might have told you this. He said, yeah, solving the kit is important, but the question is never really repeated, right? So what is the reason for doing the kit? Because the question is not really repeated. Now you guys tell me, ACCA never repeats a question. But in the kit, when you do all the questions, you understand how to apply knowledge. And that is what is necessary in the exam. Because no question is repeated that I also know, you also know, everybody knows, even ACCA knows. But still they have given us questions. Why they have given us? That will teach you how to apply your knowledge which you have already obtained from SBR and your previous skill level papers. How to apply the knowledge that you already know will be taught by the kit. So I hope that is clear now and I don't have to repeat it again. How important it is to do the exam kit, that is these questions. The past exam questions that we have. These. It's very important to do this. So please don't ignore these. So now, forensic audit. What is the meaning of forensic audit? This refers to specific procedures within a forensic investigation in order to obtain evidence to quantify a loss. The objective is to put the claimant into the position they would have been if the event had not occurred. This may be compensation for additional cost and or loss of profit. Forensic audit means what? There's an event that has happened, which was maybe an unexpected event. So you want to find out about that event in detail. Why that event happened, how much is the loss that was incurred, and in depth you want to find out about that event. So when you want to find out about that event in depth, it is known as forensic audit. Now generally, normal auditors do not conduct the forensic audit procedures. There are specialized auditors to do that because you need to really have the knowledge to dive in deep and study about forensic audit. Okay, this could be the use of traditional financial auditing techniques such as analytical procedures and substantive procedures, for example, to quantify a fraud or to determine the amount of an insurance claim. Sometimes what happens is the company is insured, okay, and there's a fire in the godown. So now you have to claim the insurance. But the insurance company is not mad. They will not directly give you the insurance claim. They will first investigate if the fire was natural or it was man-made. Because normally what happens is sometimes what happens is they will not give you the money directly. They will first find out if this has happened naturally or due to man-made action. Sometimes what happens is the company is going into losses, they require money, and they have already exhausted all their bank lending facilities. So the only way to obtain the money is to themselves fire their godown and claim the insurance, which is like in crores. So that is why whenever you claim an insurance, the insurance company always finds out if it is a natural fire or a man-made fire. If it's a man-made one and if they're able to prove that, they will not give you money. They will not give you the claim. That is why they send this forensic people in who kind of find out how the fire occurred, why it occurred, what was the reason of that. They will check the footages, they will check the CCTVs, they will go inside, they will check how the fire spread and all of that. So they are sent by the insurance companies then to verify that the fire was a natural calamity, and what should the claim amount be. Okay, so like that. So for that forensic audit, normal auditors will not be able to do it sometimes. So there are specialized auditors who are specialized to do the forensic purpose. So those auditors are hired and then they conduct the forensic audit. As a part of the assignment of a forensic accountant, he will communicate their findings in the form of reports, exhibits, and collection of documents. So as a forensic auditor, when you reach the site, you will find out everything. Yeah, you will find out all the proofs and everything and details, and you will communicate whatever you have found out from the site in the form of a report, an exhibit, or a collection of documents, because you have to submit it to the insurance company. So you will make like a report of that, you will make exhibit of that, you will make collection of documents, and then you will submit it. Assist in legal proceedings, including testifying in court as an expert witness and preparing visual aids to support trial evidence. Sometimes the company will file a case on the insurance company if the insurance company denies paying them the insurance claim. So now in this legal proceeding, this forensic proof will play a role. Okay. Then the forensic accountant may be used as an expert witness, where they have experience, expertise, training, and appropriate to the value, complexity, and importance of the case. So the forensic accountant who conducts all these activities, who comes into the warehouse, checks how the fire occurred, this, that, they have gained a lot of knowledge about that. So they might maybe use as an expert witness. The court might ask them, so you tell us what happened when you went to the site. What did you find out, that how the fire occurred, and what did you find out, what are the proofs that you gathered from the site, and everything is asked to them. They have the expertise relevant to the issue on which an opinion is sought. It is a reasonable requirement to resolve proceedings. So this forensic accountant goes to the site, finds out everything, and studies it so much in detail that he has all the knowledge and information obtained. So in the court, when the case is going on, the lawyer will ask him that you tell us what you have found out so far. Like, what are your findings from that, or how you have found out things, or what is the knowledge that you have obtained. So that is forensic audit. Okay, just give me a minute. So please just read through it. Till then, I'll quickly check the comments on our live. Please read through it. Then what is the level of assurance that needs to be obtained in forensic audit? Now, forensic engagements are generally considered as and conducted as agreed upon procedure assignments. Means what? There are two categories. One is where a proper audit is done and a reasonable assurance is given, and one is an agreed upon procedure, which is just a procedure that is conducted in that no assurance is given. So this forensic audit is conducted as an agreed upon procedure where no assurance is given. The practitioner will report only the actual findings to the client, whatever are the facts, the factual findings, and the procedures are dependent on the requirements of the client. Okay, so these three things you have to keep in mind. Forensic audit is conducted as an agreed upon procedure. In that, no assurance is given. Only whatever are the facts that are found out, and the procedures are dependent on the requirements of the client. Okay, so these are the levels of assurance. Then what are the procedures that are followed while conducting a forensic audit? So forensic audit means what? You have to go and find out the truth about the situation. Okay, so first thing what you will do is inquiries and interviews of the key staff. You will find out about the key staff, like for example, if you're finding out about fire, so how did it occur, and from different people you try to find out to see if anything matches or anything doesn't match. Then detailed inspections and analysis of documentary evidence, example bank statements, accounting records, loan agreements, emails, and other correspondence. So you will find detailed analysis and documentary evidence of all these things, because you have to check the bank statements in detail. If somebody has bribed somebody to purposely fire the go down, or you have to check the accounting records if everything was properly recorded, and when the fire happened in the go down, how much worth inventory was actually present in the go down, because sometimes people lie that we lost inventory worth rupees 1 crore and all of that, but what is the actual one? That needs to be known. Then tests of controls. When the fire occurred, what were the various controls that were available in the warehouse? Were these controls in working condition, or were they not in the working condition? All these things need to be found out. Then analytical procedures to enable the practitioner to understand past performance, so they can assess what performance might have been had the event not occurred. So practitioner analytical procedures to enable and help the practitioner to understand past performance, so that they can assess what the performance would have been if the event had not occurred. So if the fire had not occurred, then where would we be today? What would be our position today? And automated tools and techniques such as the use of audit software, test data, and data analytics. Can this be done using the computer assisted auditing techniques and all of that? That needs to be determined. So these are the procedures that will be followed by a forensic accountant. So at the planning stage of forensic audit, what will you do? First of all, you will hold a meeting with everybody. When you're starting the forensic audit, this is the first stage, that is the planning stage. So at the first stage, first of all, a meeting will be held, and where the discussion will be done that what is the objective of the investigation. Because when you're conducting a forensic audit, everybody around needs to know that why this audit is being conducted. You cannot just start over and start with the forensic audit. You need to explain why you are having this forensic investigation. So the objective of the investigation needs to be explained to everybody around, that this is the problem that has happened, this is the insurance claim. So we are here to find out the truth, and that is why we are conducting or we are starting to conduct the forensic audit. That is the first step you will do. You will explain the objective of the investigations and whatever actions you have taken so far, example, contact with the police and the result of any investigations carried out by them, contact with the insurance company. So before coming to the company, what all you have done? You have informed the police about the fire. You have contacted the insurance company. What is their answer? So everything in detail you need to understand. Okay, the planned deadline for the report. What is the deadline for the report? That also needs to be taken into consideration, that this is the deadline that we have to complete the forensic audit. So if you guys cooperate, only then can we fulfill this objective. So you cannot directly come to a company and start the forensic audit. You need to kind of train the employees that yes, we are coming here and we are starting with the forensic audit. So the objective of the investigation, whatever actions you have taken so far, that is informing the police and informing the insurance company about the same, the planned deadline of the report, that this is the deadline and you have to complete your work in this particular deadline. Confirm that the investigation team will have full access to information required and are able to discuss the matter with the police without fear of breaching confidentiality. So whatever team is there who's responsible for the forensic audit, they have a right to have full access to the information, because the end line here is they have to find the truth. So they have full access to all the information required and they're able to discuss the matter with the police without fear of breaching confidentiality. Here, discussing the matter with the police is more important than keeping up with the confidentiality, and that needs to be understood. Okay? Confirm the output of the investigation and to whom the report will be addressed. It should be clarified that the report is not to be distributed to any other parties. Why am I doing this forensic investigation? Because the insurance company has told me to do so. So whatever report I prepare, this report is only directed to the insurance company and not any other person, because this is not a public display of information that is going on. I cannot give the company secrets to everybody around. So whichever party has appointed me and whichever party has told me that you do forensic investigation for us, I will give my report only to that party and not to any other person. Okay? Consider the resources and skills that will be needed to conduct the work. If the firm has a forensic accounting department, it is likely they will have staff with relevant skills, but the specific type of investigation must be considered as each will be different. So, when you're carrying out a forensic investigation, what are the skills and resources that you will require? First of all, you will require experts or valuers who have an experience of doing the insurance of a situation like fire. Then you will need proper documentation, you will need proper office to sit and do the work, and all these skills and resources that are necessary must be considered. You need to have these skills and resources if you want to conduct a forensic audit. And confirm whether the firm will be required to act as an expert witness in the event of prosecution. Prosecution means what? If there's a legal case. So this expert witness will be required, this firm will be required to act as an expert witness there. So all these things need to be done at the planning stage. Okay, all these things need to be done at the planning stage. When you tell the people first, then you take actions, then you conduct the procedures. Then in terms of fraud, what needs to be done? If there's a fraud that is happening in the company, what is a fraud? It's a purposeful activity. So if there's a fraud in the company, then what? A company may require a fraud investigation to be performed if it identifies fraud, such as fictitious employees being set up on a payroll system or fictitious suppliers being set up on the purchase system. What is the meaning of fictitious? Fictitious means fake. So when a person sets up fake employees on the payroll system, he makes the payment to these fake employees from the company funds, which ultimately go into his bank account. So he's one person, but he takes salary of 5 people because 4 others are fictitiously set on the system by him. That is known as fraud. and frauds like these require investigation in detail. So what is the objective and scope of having a fraud investigation? With most fraud investigations, the basic objective of a forensic engagement include identification of the type of fraud that has occurred. So what kind of fraud has occurred first of all, how long it has been occurring for how long this fraud is going on of setting up fictitious employees on the payroll and making payments to them, how the fraud was concealed. So many years, how did you not know about the fraud? How did they try to hide the fraud with you? What was the method that they used? This is required because this will help you to stop similar frauds from happening in the future. Okay, so how the fraud was concealed, the main suspects of the fraud, who conducted the fraud, quantification of the financial losses, how much loss did you incur because of these frauds, gathering of evidence to support legal action or recovery of losses, providing advice to prevent fraud occurring in future. You need to know about how the fraud was concealed, because if you know that what way did they apply to conceal the fraud, you can keep it in mind and you can prevent similar frauds from happening in the future. So this is the objective and scope of a fraud. Then specific procedures that can be conducted in terms of fraud or fraudulent activities that are happening. Inspect payment for evidence of authorization using audit software. Trace all payments made to a particular bank account number. First of all, inspect payments for evidence of authorization. When a company makes payments and when the payments are made to these fictitious employees, first of all, find out who did the authorization for the payment, how the payment was authorized. Then using audit software, trace all payments made to a particular bank account number. 4 employees were fictitious. All their payments were going to my bank account. Okay. So you have to find out how this link was made. Using audit software, identify employees who have not taken any annual leave, entitlement or sick leave. Now this is very unusual, wherein an employee has not taken any leave within the year. Inspect reports detailing changes of standing data to identify whether these changes were authorized. Any changes in the data that were made by the clerks or anybody, but were they authorized to make these changes? Yes, that is very necessary. Use analytical procedures to identify any trends that may indicate when the fraud commenced and the extent of the fraud, how deep the fraud is. Interview the suspect to obtain an explanation of what has happened or to obtain a confession. When you catch the person who has conducted the fraud, ask him to confess his fraud, ask him why he conducted the fraud and how did he plan it all. Inspect supporting documentation, example contracts of employment, GRNs, invoices for expenditure to identify whether the expenditure is legitimate or fraudulent, that is, if it is real or fraud. Any expenditure. Inspect the company's insurance policy to identify whether the fraud is covered. If so, the loss to the company will be limited to the extent of any excess of the insurance policy or any limit imposed by the insurance company. So these are all specific procedures that you will conduct if there is a fraud that is going on in the company. Now, in terms of insurance claim verification, a company may request an insurance claim verification to be performed to ensure the maximum amount possible is claimed from the insurance company in the event of loss. Examples include insurance claim for theft of asset or claim for business interruption if the business has been affected by a flood or fire. See, the insurance company, when you claim the money, they will have their own forensic investigation. But as a company, you will not listen to what they say. You also want maximum amount for your loss. So you will again have an insurance claim verification, wherein you will hire somebody to find out if the insurance people are doing their work properly, because you want the maximum amount possible from the insurance company. Okay, so you will also do your own claim verification, and in that own claim verification, these are the specific procedures that you will have. Inspect the insurance policy to clarify the exact terms of the insurance. The period of the insurance cover should be checked to ensure that the client is covered for any claim they intend to make. So this insurance claim verification is from the company's side. So first they will check the policy. They will check how much is covered under the policy, what is the term of the policy, what is the insured amount and everything. Then they will inspect the bank statements to confirm payments to the insurance company are up to date to ensure the cover has not lapsed. For assets being claimed, inspect the asset register or invoices to verify the value of the asset, actually how much is covered under the insurance. Where insurance replaces on a new for old basis, inspect price list to identify the current price for the asset. New for old means what? An exchange for the old. They will give you new in exchange for the old one. So inspect the prices for that. For business interruption insurance, that is a fire or flood, analyze the level of business generated in the previous year and any growth achieved in the current year to date to quantify the level of business loss during the relevant period. So in this you have to identify if there's a fire this year, you have to find out what was the profit amount last year, what was the expected amount of growth this year. With that you will have an idea of how much losses are incurred in this particular year. Perform a reconciliation of records to physical items to quantify the number of goods lost or destroyed for which the insurance can be claimed. And discuss with the policy whether any items being claimed for have since been recovered. So the insurance claim will include all these specific procedures. Then a reporting on the same, a reporting on the forensic investigation. As I told you, forensic investigation, you do not have to give an opinion. It is just an agreed upon procedure where no audit opinion is given. So once a forensic investigation is complete, the forensic accountant will submit a report of their findings. As an agreed upon procedure, the most important factor of a forensic report is that the practitioner adequately address the requirements of the client as established in the engagement letter. So a basic report will include summary of procedures performed, that means all the procedures that were performed by the forensic team, summary of the results of the procedures, what answer did you get after performing so many procedures, and any limitations in the scope of the engagement, and a conclusion of the same. So all the procedures that were performed, result what you got after performing so many procedures, and limitations in the scope of the engagement, and a conclusion. So this is the reporting, and with that we complete the theory of forensic audit. Now we take a break of 5 minutes and then we start with the question. So now let's begin with the question solving. So 25 marker. So whenever you have a question, you have to read the requirement first and then read the question. So in this case, let's read the requirement first. In relation to the audit of the retriever group, evaluate the quality management, ethical and other professional matters arising in respect of the planning and performance of the group audit. Quality management, ethical and other professional matters in planning and performing the group audit. Okay. So let's read the question. It is 1 July 20x5. Kennel and Company, a firm of chartered certified accountants, is the external audit provider for the Retriever Group, a manufacturer of mobile phones and laptop computers. The group obtained a stock exchange listing in July 20x4. The audit of the consolidated financial statements for the year ended 28 February 20x5 is nearing completion. You are a manager in the audit department of Kennel and Company, responsible for conducting engagement quality reviews on listed audit clients. You have discussed the group audit with some of the audit juniors of the audit team, one of whom made the following comments about how it was planned and carried out. The audit has been quite time pressured. The audit manager told the juniors not to perform some of the planned audit procedures on items such as directors' emoluments and share capital as they are considered to be low risk. He also instructed us not to use the firm's statistical sampling methods in selecting trade receivable balances for testing, as it would be quicker to pick the sample based on your own judgment. Two of the juniors were given the task of auditing trade payables and going concern. The audit manager asked us to review each other's work as it would be a good training for us, and he didn't have time to review anything. I was discussing the group's tax position with the financial controller when she said that she was struggling to calculate the deferred tax asset that should be recognized. The deferred tax asset has arisen because several of the group's subsidiaries have been loss-making this year, creating unutilized tax losses. As I had just studied deferred tax at college, I did the calculation of the group's deferred tax position for her. The audit manager said this saved time as we now would not have to audit the deferred tax figure. The financial controller also asked for my advice on how the tax losses could be utilized by the group in the future. I provided her with some tax planning recommendations for which she was very grateful. Once again, requirement. In relation to the audit of Retriever Group, evaluate the quality management, ethical and other professional matters arising in respect of the planning and performance of group audit. Now write it down stepwise. The first one is isn't this an ethical issue? Time pressure? Yes. So when the audit is time pressured, you don't really have the liberty of conducting all the procedures because you have a pressure of time. So let's plan the answer. First, write the introduction. There are many concerns raised. regarding quality management audit should be conducted with utmost quality and it seems this has not happened in relation to the audit of the retriever group. And which is especially concerning given the group obtained a stock exchange listing during the year. It would seem that the level of staffing on this assignment is insufficient and that tasks have been delegated inappropriately to junior members of the staff. The first thing that we saw here is the time pressure. So when the audit is time pressured, you don't have the liberty of conducting procedures like you want, because the only goal here is to complete the audit within that time frame. So time pressure is the first quality control issue. The junior's first comment is that the audit was time pressured. All audits should be planned to ensure that adequate time can be spent to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence to support the audit opinion. Because the audit is rushed, so it seems that the audit is being rushed and The juniors instructed not to perform work properly. And that review procedures are not conducted appropriately. All of this increases the detection risk of the audit, because if you're not able to conduct the procedures completely, detection risk increases because you're not able to complete the things only. So this increases the detection risk of the audit and ultimately to lead to an inappropriate opinion being given. Because you cannot check everything in detail. The juniors have been told here not to perform some procedures on items such as director emoluments, and because they're low risk and also you don't have time, so write about that also. The juniors have been told not to carry out some planned procedures on alleged low risk areas of the audit because of time pressure. It is not acceptable to cut corners just to save time. If you are concentrating more on time, you will not be able to concentrate on the quality of audit. So it is not acceptable to cut corners by leaving out audit procedures, and even if the balances are considered to be low risk, they could still contain misstatements. Now, directors' emoluments, making payments to directors. Directors is a part of the organization, so making this payment to the director becomes a related party transaction. And even if not material by size, related party transaction is always material by nature. Okay. So they said that it's not material, don't check it. But it has to be checked because it's material by nature. So directors' emoluments are related party transactions and are material by their nature, and so should not be ignored. any modifications to the planned audit procedures should be discussed with and approved by senior members of the audit team and should only occur for genuine reasons. Now this is regarding the time pressure. Now this one. He also instructed us not to use the firm's statistical sampling method in selecting trade receivable balances for testing, as it would be quicker to pick a sample based on own judgment, means randomly. Don't use the statistical sampling methods, but randomly select a sample. So then again, method of selecting the sample, the next point. Method of selecting sample. Audit sampling requires that the auditor shall select items for the sample in such a way that each sampling unit in the population has a chance of selection. The audit manager favors non-statistical sampling as a quick way to select a sample. Instead of the firm's usual statistical sampling methods. Methods. There is a risk that changing the way items are selected for testing will not provide sufficient reliable audit evidence as the sample selected may no longer be a representative of the population as a whole. Because what is a sampling risk? That the sample selected is not a representative of the population. That means the result that would have derived from checking a sample would be different had the entire population tested. So if you want to make sure that your sample is a proper good sample, you need to use a proper method of selecting the sample. Just randomly will not help. So will no longer be a representative of the population as a whole, or that an insufficient number of items may be selected for testing. Okay, this is method of selecting a sample. And you have told the juniors that pick a sample based on your judgment. Don't use the company's statistical sampling methods. Now they are junior staff. Their judgment might not be that great. They might not be able to pick the correct sample, which would lead to sampling risk. So that can be your second paragraph, that the juniors may not understand how to pick a sample. Without the use of the audit firm's statistical selection method, and there is a risk that the sample may be biased towards items that are easy to audit. Because if you leave it on the junior staff's discretion that you guys select a sample, they will obviously select those items that are easier for them to audit. So it will be biased towards items that appear easy to audit. Again, this instruction from the audit manager is a departure from planned audit procedures. And because of this, what can happen? Detection risk can increase, and likely to increase detection risk. Then next, what can we write? See this one. Review each other's work. The manager does not have time to review the juniors' work, so they have told the juniors to review each other's work. Now juniors both have limited knowledge. What they will review each other's work? No mistakes will be found out. So next paragraph will be that. Review of work. The juniors have been asked to review each other's work, which is unacceptable. The standard requires that the engagement partner shall take responsibility for reviews being performed in accordance with the firm's review policy policies and procedures. Excuse me, guys. Ideally, whatever work is performed, it should be reviewed by a senior person. So ideally, work should be reviewed by a person more senior or experienced than the person who conducted the work. If audit juniors are reviewing each other's work, it is difficult for them to find mistakes because they both have limited knowledge. So audit juniors reviewing each other's work are unlikely to spot mistakes errors of judgment and inappropriate conclusion on work performed. The audit manager should be reviewing all of the work of the juniors with the audit partner taking overall responsibility that all work has been appropriately reviewed. This should ideally be the case. After review of book, what do you have? The group's tax position, and they were struggling to calculate the deferred tax, and since then they had studied deferred tax in college. So the audit manager said this saves time as we now have to conduct the audit of the deferred tax figure. So they don't know how to calculate the deferred tax, and they have taken the help of what they have learned in college theoretically, and they are not even conducting an audit on the same. Now this is such a big thing that what if this deferred tax, which actually they don't know to calculate, contains mistakes? So the financial controller is not able to calculate deferred tax. So the next heading would be deferred tax. Deferred tax. It is concerning that the client's financial controller is not able to calculate the deferred tax figure. This could indicate a lack of competence in the presentation and preparation of the financial statements. And the audit firm should consider if this impacts the overall assessment of audit risk. The main issue is that the controller is not able to calculate deferred tax, and the junior learned it in college. They calculated it, and audit of that has not been done. The junior prepared the calculation for the client providing an audit client with accounting and bookkeeping services is prohibited. It creates a self-review threat. So providing an audit client with accounting and bookkeeping services creates a self-review threat when the firm subsequently audits the financial statements. The significance of the threat depends on the materiality of the balance to the financial statements. Okay, so that is the deferred tax. But this is calculated by a junior, but that needs to be checked by somebody. So that one point you have to add. So the deferred tax calculation by the junior should be assessed for materiality it should be carefully reviewed or reperformed and discussed with management. And also it is unclear why the junior was discussing the companies or the group's tax position with financial controller, and that's when financial controller told him I cannot calculate, and that is when the junior calculated. But why was the junior and the controller even talking about the tax position with the financial controller? As this is not the type of task that should normally be given to the audit junior. Okay. Then next. So see, I was discussing the group's tax position when financial controller, but why were you discussing? Okay. Then the financial controller also asked for my advice on how the tax losses could be utilized by the group in the future. I provided her with some tax planning recommendations for which she was very grateful. Audit junior is advising the controller on tax planning. Can you imagine? That's the next one. Tax planning. So the audit junior should not be advising the client on tax planning matters This is an example of non-audit service which can create self-review and advocacy threats to independence. As discussed above, the audit junior does not have the appropriate level of skill and knowledge to perform such work. Okay. Then the audit junior has worked on tax. So the audit junior's work on tax indicates that the audit has not been properly supervised. So the audit junior's work on tax indicates that the audit has not been properly supervised and that the junior does not seem to understand the ethical implications created. And now this is a general point for everybody, like for all the points. As part of a good quality management system, all members of the audit team should understand the objectives of the work they've been allocated and the limit to their responsibilities. Okay, this is a general point for all. So I hope this is clear. This is the first part, which is for a good 13 marks, and then you can add one more point if you want, and this is the audit of going concern. Now this company is a going concern, and the audit of a going concern is a little difficult, and you have left it completely on the juniors. So that one point you can add. So let's add that one, audit of going concern. Since it's for 13 marks, we'll add a point. Audit of going concern. Going concern can be a difficult area to audit. And given the group's listed status, and the fact that losses appear to have been made this year, it seems unwise to delegate such an important area of the audit to an audit junior. The audit of going concern involves many subjective areas such as evaluating assumptions made by the management Then analyzing profit and cash flow forecasts. And forming an overall opinion on the viability of the business. The going concern audit program should be performed by a more senior and more experienced member of the audit team. And this issue shows that the audit has not been well planned as appropriate delegation of work is a key part of direction and supervision and essential elements of a good quality management. Okay, so this is the audit of going concern. So this is one added point. So this finishes the A part. The next one we have is in respect of theft and associated insurance claim. Identify and explain the matters to be considered and the steps to be taken and recommended procedures. Okay, so let's club it and write it down. Before that, let's read. The audit committee of the group has contacted Kennel and Company to discuss an incident that took place on 1 June 2005. On that date, there was a burglary at the group's warehouse where inventory is stored prior to dispatch to customers. CCTV filmed the thieves loading a lorry belonging to the group with boxes containing finished goods. The last inventory count took place on 30th April, that is 2 months back. The group has insurance cover in place, and Kennel and Company's forensic accounting department has been asked to provide a forensic accounting service to determine the amount to be claimed in respect of the burglary. The insurance covers the cost of assets lost as a result of thefts. It is thought that the amount of claim will be immaterial to the group's financial statements, and there is no ethical threat in Kennel and Company's forensic accounting department providing the forensic account service. Once again, read the requirement. In respect of the theft and the associated insurance claim, identify and explain the matters to be considered and the steps to be taken in planning the forensic accounting service, and recommend the procedures to be performed in determining the amount of the claim. So let's answer the B part. This is the B part. We name it procedures. So what are the procedures that need to be performed? First of all, you need to understand how much is the insurance cover. We just saw the procedures when we were studying this. So the same procedures, but you have to relate it to the situation. See these, okay, forensic procedures. So first of all, scrutinize the insurance policy to clarify the exact terms of the insurance to ensure that both the finished goods and stolen inventory or rather the stolen lorry first, because they have carried it in the company's lorry, will be included in the claim, because goods and the lorry has also gone, right? Then next, the period of the insurance cover to ensure that the date of the theft is covered. That means sometimes your insurance policy gets over. So is it covered or is it not? Yeah. Then next, when you take an insurance every year, you pay a premium. So have you paid the premium up to date? If yes, only then you can apply for the claim, right? So if you have paid the premiums or no will be known by reviewing the bank statements. So review the bank statements and cash book to confirm the payments to the insurance company are up to date to ensure the cover has not lapsed. That means you have been paying the premium. Then there was a CCTV and you saw in the CCTV that the theft has been occurring, but how many boxes of inventory are put into the lorry, that also you can count. So watch the CCTV. To form an impression of the quantity of goods stolen for example, how many boxes were loaded onto the lorry. Okay, then next, is it possible to make out from the box that was it a box of a computer, laptop, or was it a box of mobile phone? If possible. So if possible, so we will get an idea of the quantity. If possible, from the CCTV, we can just try. We cannot say that you have to do that, but if possible, if you can make out that okay, this is a lorry box, this is a mobile box, or this is a laptop box, then we can determine in one box, example 10 mobiles can fit, so total mobiles stolen are this much. So if possible from the CCTV, determine if the boxes contain either mobile phones or laptop computers. Inspect the boxes of goods remaining in the warehouse to determine how many items of finished goods are in each box. Then how many mobiles are gone and how many laptop computers are gone, the cost of that. So agree the cost of individual mobile phones and laptop computers to accounting records. Such as cost cards. Then how many boxes were there total approximately, how many are lost and how many are remaining. So whatever are the boxes remaining, you have to perform an inventory count on those boxes. So perform an inventory count on the boxes of goods remaining in the warehouse and reconcile to the latest inventory movement records. Then you have to inform the police also. So discuss the case with the police. To establish if any of the goods have been recovered and if, in the opinion of the police, this is likely to happen. And the lorry is stolen, so obtain details of the stolen lorry. For example, the license plate, and agree the lorry back. To non-current assets register where its carrying value should be shown. So these are the procedures that can be carried on by the auditor in terms of the loss. Okay. So now this question is over. If you want, you can go through it. It's a 25 marker. And before we begin the next question, I would like to take a break of 5 minutes. So the next question that we have is Bayer company. So the requirements: evaluate the matters which should be considered before you accept the invitation to perform a forensic investigation for Bayer. Having accepted the engagement, recommend the procedures which should be performed in order to quantify the inventory loss and evaluate the deficiencies in Bayer company's system of internal control, and explain how they contributed to the fraud, together with recommendations to prevent such a fraud from reoccurring. And 5 marks is for professional. Now let's read the question. Bayer company. You are a manager in the forensic department of your firm, Cafe & Co. You have received a request from Bayer company about an inventory fraud which was brought to the attention of the company's audit committee by a whistleblower. What is a whistleblowing? Like, with a lot of gossip. Bayer company is not currently a client of your firm. The following exhibits provide information relevant to the question. In the first exhibit, you have the background information about the potential new client that you're going to have a forensic investigation on, and the investigation requested by the audit committee. And in the second exhibit, you have the allegations by the whistleblower, that is the one who gets information from here to there. That means what people are talking in the market. Background information: Bayer company manufactures and sells parts used in the automotive industry to both car manufacturers and to garages specializing in the repair of servicing of cars. The audit committee would like Cafe & Company to perform forensic investigation to quantify the loss suffered as a result of the inventory fraud and to recommend improvements in the company's controls to avoid similar issues in the future. In addition, the audit committee has mentioned that although the quantification of the loss is to form the basis of an insurance claim, the matter has been reported to the police, who will be investigating the matter further. Allegations: having accepted the engagement, the operations director provides you with the following summary of the allegations of the whistleblower. The warehouse manager has been working with one of the sales representatives to dispatch goods to a fictitious customer, which the warehouse manager has created on the dispatch system. The sales order are input by the sales representative into the dispatch system, which is not directly linked to the invoicing and accounting system. After the goods dispatch note is issued by the warehouse manager and the goods leave the warehouse for delivery to the fictitious customer, the sales representative cancels the original order. The warehouse manager reverses the dispatch immediately so that the daily report on inventory movement used to generate invoices in the sales system does not reflect movement of goods. The sales representative takes delivery of the goods at the address of the fictitious customer and then sells the parts on the internet, splitting the proceeds with the warehouse manager. The warehouse manager supervises and participates in all inventory counts, and this way ensures he is able to adjust the records of inventory to disguise the missing items. The operations director has informed you that no authorization is required for either the cancellation of orders or the reversal of dispatch notes. These are the requirements. So once again I'll read: evaluate the matters which should be considered before your firm accepts the invitation to perform forensic audit. So before a forensic audit is accepted, what are the things that the company should consider? If it was a normal investigation, then it would have been PIPCO, but now this is a forensic investigation. So what are the points that you will consider? Then you will recommend the procedures, and then you will evaluate the deficiencies. So let's start with the same. Let's see how much we can complete. The A part is before accepting the engagement. So what is the scope of investigation? First, you will consider the scope of investigation. What is the scope of investigation? Cafe and company should establish the specific work which your company expects them to perform it is likely that the quantification of loss represents an agreed upon procedure and these would need to be confirmed with peer in advance. Cafe and company would also need to establish the time period your company would like them to investigate. For how long? This will have an impact on the total fee charged. Okay, this is the scope of the investigation. And then establishing how this investigation will relate to criminal investigation. So establishing, but you have to write it in a little more detail. Okay, so establishing how Cafe and company investigation relates to criminal investigation. Okay. If the quantification of the loss were to become criminal investigation, then the relevant authorities would take the lead. It is not clear whether the authorities would require additional professional support in their investigation and if so, what sort of assistance would be required? Then the confidentiality needs to be considered. So firms providing professional services must always ensure that information relating to clients is not given to third parties. So the same confidentiality point which comes in normal audit also. Without the permission of the client. It is highly likely that all of the evidence collected will have to be submitted to the authorities to assist with their criminal investigation. Then what is the type of report that you're going to make and what is the prospective users of that report? So the next point, the types of report and prospective users. Okay. The firm must confirm with peer company what type of report they would expect as a result of the engagement, and to whom the report would be distributed. In forensic engagements, the procedures to be performed would normally be agreed, and then the results of those procedures would be reported. And what are the prospective users of that? Who will the report be directed to? Then next, professional competence, if the auditor is competent or no to conduct the forensic audit services, if they have the necessary staff with them, so before they can accept the role. Cafe and company must be certain that they have staff with the requisite competencies to be able to conduct the investigation effectively. If this were conducted as a criminal investigation, it is also vital that the staff used have sufficient experience in relation to the gathering and safeguarding of evidence. And any failure to follow the relevant protocol may render the evidence unless to the legal case. Okay, so that is the professional competence. Then, what is the next point that you will write? Time pressure and resource availability. In what time you should conduct it, and what is the resources that you have available, like the staff and the other resources with which you can complete it in the time pressure. Then the client due diligence, information about the client, because this is a new client, so client due diligence. This point is the same that we have now in client due diligence. Since it's a new client, we have to find information about the client before accepting the audit engagement. Okay, now this becomes your first part, that is before accepting the engagement. So what are the procedures to be performed to quantify the inventory loss after you accept the engagement? So let's write the B part. B part 1. So this is the B part 1. Procedures to be performed to quantify the inventory loss. So what procedures to quantify the inventory loss? It's for 6 months. So the first one, meet with the audit committee and members of the management to understand the document what they know about the fraud and who might be involved. Then discuss with the legal team, discuss with the company's legal team what is known about the fraud at present and the source of the information. This you have come to know about the whistleblower. Whistleblower is the person who spreads information, who spreads gossip. So you can interview that whistleblower, ask him from where you got this information, what is your source of information, and we can find out the source. So if possible, interview the whistleblower to identify the potential staff involved and the timescales over which the fraud has been perpetrated. Then obtain the prior year's report to management from the auditor and inspect auditor's reports to identify any deficiencies or discrepancies in inventories identified by the auditors. Arrange to conduct a full inventory count to identify discrepancies between records and physical inventory. And one more or two more. Investigate records of inventory written off to identify possible attempts to disguise the missing items. Identify which cancelled orders are assigned to the sales representative identified by the whistleblower. So these are the procedures to be performed to quantify the inventory loss. Next we have to identify the deficiencies and give a recommendation for that. So you can write it as a part of column. So control deficiencies and recommendations. This is from AAA, audit and assurance. Okay, so you can write it as a table or you can write it in paragraph form. So control deficiencies and recommendations, that is the B part 2. Control deficiencies and recommendations. So the first one is, the deficiency is lack of segregation of duties. Deficiencies means problems, and then you have to give a recommendation. And monitoring of order cancellations. There is a lack of internal control over the warehouse team particularly in relation to authorization and approval of transactions the warehouse manager having the ability to create new customers on the system without authorization has allowed fictitious customers to be created. In that, okay, and then you will explain, except still more you can explain about the monitoring of order cancellations and all, and what will be your recommendation for the same. A proper monitoring system would have flagged that one sales representative in particular had higher than usual cancellation levels which could have been investigated and monitored by management. Okay. Then implement a system of cancelled orders and reversed dispatches. That also you can do. Then there is also lack of segregation of duties in the warehouse counts. So that point also you can write. Lack of segregation of duties in the warehouse counts. Okay, so in this also, in the inventory counts, there is a lack of warehouse duties, and then you can also give a recommendation on the same. Okay, now this is one more problem. I'll write one more. You can explain the lack of segregation of duties in the warehouse counts. Then additional implication of the fraud. In this you can write about the inventory stolen by the warehouse manager. And explain this issue. And for all of this, now you can give the recommendation of what needs to be done to improve all of this. So for recommendations for the same, what will be the recommendation? Integration of the sales order and invoicing system into the management information system This is one recommendation. Then new customers should be created by the accounts department not the sales dispatch teams. Then authorization process for cancelled orders or for returns. Then creation and regular review of exception reports and unusual trends, including cancellation reports by higher level management to identify irregular or suspicious patterns. Then next, regular inventory counts to be performed by staff independent of the warehouse and sales staff. So these are the recommendations that you can give, and then you can check the answer, but you have to write it in a little more detail, the A and the B part. Okay. Now that's it with your question. We did 2 questions on forensic audit. Tomorrow is the last day of AAA revision, and we're going to do a mock tomorrow. So I hope this revision session was useful to you, and I hope that it will help you to solve the questions properly and you will understand the introduction that I gave today. Thank you so much for